Yeah, I would say this is inescapable when God makes the decision that he wants to have relationship with something he has created. Okay. So he can't have a relationship with, dogs and cats and cows and worms and things like this. Okay. Because they lack the capacities and properties, okay, the abilities to interact with him. So God has to create a being that he, my view of the image of God is that it's a status that humans alone on earth, have this, but to fulfill that status of being God in proxy, because the image of God is tied directly to a job description. Okay, Genesis 1:26 is not the only verse there. Keep reading it. In two verses, you'll hit, the Edenic mandate, what they're supposed to do in God's place. Okay, partnering with God to get something done that God wants done. So to partner with God, God has to share his attributes with them. So that the image is not the attributes themselves. They are the tools by which the status that's conferred on them can be, accomplished. So once you do that, once God decides that I'm going to make these beings, we're going to call them Adam, humankind, and I'm going to share my attributes with them, so that they are lesser, significantly lesser, but still, legitimately, lesser beings or versions of myself. That means that you can't not have freedom, because this is one of the attributes of God. And you've had enough theology, I'm sure, in your Bible college, your seminary days, to know that the attributes of God are a package. Okay, they're it's not a smorgasbord. Okay, you have to have all of them to be God and to be like God. So one of these is freedom. And so as soon as God makes this choice, then value is assigned to that, capacity, to that ability, to that creature that bears it. And so this is an idea that you're right. The Bible is unique in this respect, from ancient Near Eastern, material. This aspect of all humans being created as God's imagers, and the covenantal relationship that Yahweh forms with Israel after Babel, fundamental. When God enters into a covenant, he expects a reciprocal relationship. In other words, you're not here to just go through the motions and do things for me or worship me, or or love. I'm going to love you back. Like, I'm going to be loyal to you, and you're going to be loyal. There's a reciprocal relationship. The whole concept of chesed, loving loyalty, is how we usually translate it. Well, that is mentioned over and over and over as being something God has toward his people. I'm going to be faithful to you. I'm going to be loyal to you, and I want you to be loyal to me. We want to have a relationship here. It's not one-sided in either direction. I mean, these are just fundamental concepts in a biblical worldview that are not in other worldviews of the same time period, the same region. And they extend directly from God's decision to create humanity as he has created them. So there's really a time, there's no time when these things aren't in the biblical worldview. They're just there from the get-go. Yeah. Well, we've elevated the self, and really, to be more critical, we've elevated whatever's floating around in our head, our imagination, to be the orienting point of who we intrinsically are, as opposed to we are intrinsically special creations of God. We are his proxies, and therefore we immediately have value, and we should look at each other as the same thing, God's imagers. And that forces us to conduct ourselves in a certain way, and legitimizes that when we don't do that, that needs to be punished or eliminated in some way. We got to get this out of our culture. Yeah, all of those. The biblical worldview has a preservative element and a retarding element. What I mean is the retarding or the slowing, the hindering of chaos.